Hey everybody, this is Josh Runquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, here to talk about another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for October 4th, 2024. We got 7 brand new albums coming out today, 5 I've missed along the way, all quality, all killer, no filler. So, no more dilly-dally, let's get into it. First up is the debut album from Alt with From the New World. This is some Swedish progressive metalcore that really does cover everything that you would want from this kind of sound. It's djenty, it's thal, it has all those onomatopoeias that the djent and thal progressive metalcore fans love so much, but it has this great layer of dark atmosphere going on throughout it as well. Sometimes it gets a little lighter, sometimes it gets a little bit darker, but that atmosphere never leaves, and I really think that's what makes it stand out. Mix in some really great production styles, mixing and mastering where you can hear everything shine, and you have one of the finest progressive metalcore releases of the year. If you're looking for a band that mixes tesseract and textures, this is the band for you. Next up is the latest release from Blood Incantation with Absolute Elsewhere. This is 2 songs, 6 tracks total, 3 tracks for each song, and it's some of the most expansive death metal that you're going to hear in 2024. You'll get that brutal technical death metal that they started off as. You're going to get that dark wave, synthwave, Tangerine Dream inspired synth work that they're kind of known for now, but they also elevate themselves once again on this album. Starting off with the Stargate, it is that mix of that brutal death metal mixed with the synthwave, and once you know it, Tangerine Dream shows up on this release as well. The second full-on track, The Message, is where the band starts to expand, where they become more progressive death metal, more psychedelic, more experimental, and I love everything about it. This is easily one of the best death metal albums of 2024, no matter the subgenre. Blood Incantation has now cemented themselves as one of the finest death metal bands of the 21st century. Go pick this one up and have your jaw hit the floor. Next up, we have Mammoth Caravan with their debut LP, Frostbitten Galaxy. This Arkansas band combines so many bands that I love of the sludgy doom variety. Mastodon, Burst, Torch, The Ocean, even High in Fire. Everything going on here is just absolutely killer. No 2 songs sound the same, but they all fit together so perfectly. The production style is just raw enough, but just pristine enough, where you can hear everything that's going on, but it doesn't feel like it's going too far in one direction. This is a debut album from a band that I really can't wait to see what the sophomore album is gonna all be about. This is how you keep sludge metal interesting, and one of the finest examples in 2024. Next up is Soro Doar Roa with Monde. This is the 5th album from a very prominent French band that combines the best of goth rock, dark wave, and post-punk rolled into one. Despite this being my first foray with the band, I have to go back and check out everything they've done up to this point because this is absolutely my kind of music. It's The Cure, it's the Sisters of Mercy, it's Joy Division, and it's their own mixes of their own other inspirations and things that they wanted to bring into the table. It sounds so familiar, but it sounds so unique. It's a modern throwback that hits home just as hard in 2024 as it would in 1987. It's hauntingly calm, just like the style calls for, but it has such a groove to it that you could really feel like if you went to goth prom, you would be all over this stuff. If you're a fan of anything that I just described, you owe it to yourself to give this one a shot. It's one of my favorite non-metal albums of the year, and it just might be for you as well. Next up, we have Temple of Dread with God of the Godless. Old school death metal has been making a huge impact over the last several years, and it's still something that I really enjoy. I love the fact that a newer generation is going back and listening to the old school death metal and just perfecting it just enough to make it contemporary. And that's what Temple of Dread does here. With this 5th album in 6 years, it really does have a huge death sound. I also hear some Morbid Angel going on, but especially compared to their other albums, I hear more elements of like Pestilence, Deicide, Morgoth, and even Asphyx on this album. But again, more than anything, death. It's another modern throwback that is just as much for the old school as it is the new school, and if you want that in your death metal, you need to give this one a proper listen. Up next, we got Undeath with More Insane. And in speaking of that old school death metal sound, Undeath is back with their least ODSM album to date. But don't get me wrong here, it is still chock full of that old school death metal sound, but it feels more expanded upon. There's more things that you wouldn't necessarily expect from this, like breakdowns, some more hardcore riffs, guitar solos, and many other things that you really don't hear from Undeath, which is so cool to see them expand upon their sound because they are more than just old school death metal. Of course, there is that brutal early day Cannibal Corpse sound that they've always had, but again, just more expanded upon. The band knows when to ebb and flow on this album, and it's one of the most satisfying death metal albums to listen to from start to finish because of that ebb and flow. If you love Undeath, if you love the sound, Undeath is doing everything right, and they have become more, sorry for the pun, more insane. And finally, for brand new stuff out today is the brand new album from Windrose with Troll Slayer. Windrose has become one of the most prominent names in power metal, or they're a meme band, depending on how you look at it, but regardless of any of that, you cannot deny that Windrose has written some of the most catchy songs in power metal in recent times. The band knows how to write a song, they know how to write a chorus, and they know how to make everyone in the crowd sing along. You cannot take that away from them. With Troll Slayer, the band continues on doing what they're best at, writing dwarven metal. What else could you possibly ask for in a band like this? Windrose, of course, updates things just enough not to be the same as they've done in the past, but it is that Windrose sound that you know and love. This album is clearly meant to be in the live setting, so if you have the opportunity to go see the band live, do so. It's gonna be one of the most fun times you could ever have, and when they start playing songs from Troll Slayer, you'll be glad that you did. Now starting off with everything I've missed along the way, starting with the brand new album from Cyborg Octopus with Bottom Feeder. And this is one I would have loved to have included last week, but sadly, I just didn't get the promo. That's the breaks, little man, break it down. But that said, this is by far the best Cyborg Octopus album to date. It is their most musically diverse, it's their grandest display of instrumentation, songwriting, and overall experience. It's got some of their heaviest breakdowns, it's got some of their wackiest prog riffs, and motifs that feel otherworldly, all while exploring so many different genres from tech death to synthwave to grind to BT bam worship to pop and so much more. Of course, this won't be for everybody, there's a lot of genre changes that happen in here, but for those who enjoy that, you're not going to hear another album like this in 2024, especially not one done with such efficiency and authenticity. I really hope this is the album that breaks the band into the stratosphere because they've earned it at this point. Now, go check it out and see if you agree. Up next is a band that I absolutely apologize for getting wrong. It is Tar I'm Doinoff with Verso Casa. This is another fine recommendation from the Harsh Revolts podcast. This is the third album from this Italian one-man band, and it's the perfect blend of the atmospheric black metal that I love so much. It gets folksy and woodsy like a band like Egalog. It has great emotional gut-punching moments like Panopticon, and it knows when to get into the dark, otherworldly feeling of black metal of a band like Wolves in the Throne Room. It grips you and it doesn't let go from beginning to end, and I'm flabbergasted by how much I love Cell. You can really hear the true dark soul of atmospheric black metal done right, and it's easily one of the finest displays of the genre in 2024. Go check it out now and see what atmospheric black metal truly can. Up next is the sophomore album from North Carolina band Veta with Summer. And this kind of does feel like a summer album despite the fact that it's coming out in the fall. Maybe that irony's on purpose, but you'll be really glad to know that this features past and present members of Lord Almighty, Between the Buried and Me, and Mo Yoink in this band, and they throw all contentions out the window and create something that is truly near and dear to them. It's a black and roll style where you can hear bands like Motorhead and Wasp, but you can also hear bands like Tribulation and Chapel of Disease as well. It's such a creative mix of ideas that may sound familiar, especially if you're into the black and roll style, but it sounds so unique at the same time. This album is quite the trip for anyone who enjoys those styles, and it's just left of center enough from what you might expect. It's been quite the highlight over the past few weeks, and if you're into the style, you need to check it out for yourself and see if you agree. Next, we have the debut album from this Pennsylvania black and thrash band known as Vicious Blade with Relentless Force. In 2024, we've had a lot of great black and thrash, black and roll bands, but Vicious Blade does something a little bit different that I truly appreciate, where it really feels like first wave black metal like Venom, and then it's updated just enough, a little bit more of that with like the darker blackened side of Sodom, and of course a huge influence from Slayer. The production is just raw enough, but so clean clear. It's fun, catchy, and full of instant earworms, and it feels like you're in the middle of a pit back in 1985. This thing flies by. It's only 9 songs, under 28 minutes, short, sweet, and everything you love about the genre. And if you do love that, I can't imagine you would not love this album. And finally today we end things with Weather Systems with Ocean Without a Shore. Danny Kavanagh is back doing a sequel to the most prominent era of Anathema in my heart. Basically everything from We're Here Because We're Here all the way up to the first 3/4 of Distant Satellites. It's the era where the band became its biggest, brightest, darkest, everything that you love about that progressive, atmospheric, cinematic, and post-rock sound is on this album, just with Danny Kavanagh and Daniel Cardoso. They took some liberties to do things like Are You There Part 2 and Untouchable Part 3, which took some intestinal fortitude to be able to do sequels to those highly regarded songs, but they do it with such authenticity, and it just shattered me. When I first heard this album, I instantly cried, and it reminded me so much of why I love this era of Anathema so much, and I'm so glad that Weather Systems is here to do this to me all over again. And there you go, folks, another 12 albums down for Out Today and What I Missed, this time for October 4th, 2024. So what'd you think? Did I pick out some good albums? Did I pick out some bad albums, meh albums, anything that you're gonna check out, anything I missed? Please let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And make sure to spread the word of Heavy Debriefings, so if you enjoy this, I want other people to enjoy it as well, so spread the word all you can. And thank you so much for sticking around, and until next time, for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skillet.